Speaking of consumerism, thanks everybody that bought Touch Me F mugs. I talked about it last week, and like 3 more people bought Touch Me F mugs. I couldn't believe it. The Touch Me F mugs are taking over. I'm glad people like them. I don't make a ton of money off of them, but it just makes me happy knowing that there's Touch Me F mugs out there in the world. That, you know, it's just great. Somebody's getting a Touch Me F mug for Christmas, and that makes me happy. Hottest Christmas present of the year. My wife and I watched a video of the top Christmas gifts of every year. 2025 is going to be the Touch Me F mug. Shut up, Retro. I didn't talk about it during the Let's Play. YouTube has to know that my wife and I watched a YouTube video. It's important. Yeah, it's really a shame that I can't do like physical giveaways anymore because shipping is just so insane. But luckily it doesn't seem to affect the big companies like Fourth Wall. They can still ship anywhere pretty reasonably. But I can't anymore. I can't even really send cards across seas anymore. It's so expensive. You'd have to buy $300 worth of stuff for it to be worth the shipping. Yeah, even Canada's kind of oof. Doesn't USPS do flat rate international? Yeah, the flat rate is like $60 or something. No, I don't even think they do flat rate. They always weigh my packages. But yeah, no, you're not sending anything from the United States to the UK for less than like $50-$60, even if it's small. At least not through the Postal Service. Which, like, in the grand scheme of things, isn't insane. I mean, you're sending the package all the way across the world. It's not like I'm, you know, saying it's unfair that it's that much money, but it's just not worth it. If I do a giveaway for a $30 card and then I send it overseas and it's $90 total to get it there, it's like, at that point, I should have just given you like a $100 Steam gift card that would be infinitely better, you know? Like, it's just not worth it. I might as well do crazy expensive digital giveaways and you get way more bang for your buck. I need to get out of here so I can put stuff on Aerith. It used to be that you could get away with, like, cards. Stuff that doesn't have to be in a box. You could get away with international shipping for reasonable prices, but not anymore. Okay, let's give you a gold armlet. And talisman and fairy tale and a bunch of stuff. How about you take Leviathan HP Absorb? That's fun. Okay. How bad is Aerith? Oof. It's like 6 levels behind. Alrighty. So let's see here. We have one enemy in the grass, one enemy on the beach, and then all the jungle enemies. Actually, we do have an enemy in the dirt, too. Which is kind of rare, because it's only this little tiny spot, but he also appears in the temple, so it's not a big deal. But these are under lizards, which is interesting name. So, under lizards are probably supposed to be called underground lizards, especially since they show up in the Temple of the Ancients. But for some reason, they named them under lizard instead. They're memorable for having an even better version of Stone Stare called Petrified Frog, which you just used, which can slow numb and frog at the same time. You can steal remedies from them, though, so you can steal a remedy from them and use the remedy in the same fight to nullify. I always liked the art direction of that enemy. I don't know why. It's just really memorable. The ones that petrify you in the forest by Gongaga, I always remembered them as a kid. And we got another one. Apparently they can also show up in the grass. But we're looking for a different enemy who looks straight out of Final Fantasy IX. There he is. The Dual Horn. So the Dual Horn has a broken AI. At under half HP, it has a 1/4 chance to use an unnamed attack costing 65,335 MP. This attack was also in the Manipulate list in the Japanese version, but they removed it. But for some reason, they didn't remove it from his regular table. So I think we had an enemy before that you had to do something special to get him to use this attack. And there's going to be enemies later as well that you have to do special things to get them to use their attacks. But this guy, you don't even have to do anything special. You just get him under 1/4 HP. And he has a completely busted attack, which is hilarious. Also, it's hilarious how much damage Red 13 is doing. So there you go. That attack right there. He has not used any attack that costs MP. He also has no MP, but all of his skill power is used up. So yeah, probably the worst example of broken AI in the game. At least the other broken AI, either it's not as noticeable or you have to do something special to get it to happen. This guy just has a completely busted attack on his regular attack table. That's, you know how I say, as much as I love Final Fantasy VII, it's not a perfect game by any means, because it's very broken. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Sure, you know, wrong warping and W item glitch and all that stuff. That's stuff that we do to the game ourselves. But there's so much stuff that is just broken in this game that's not even a glitch that you have to do yourself. It's just broken. Like, that enemy is just broken. No, we don't know what. It's just that there's like 3 different attacks in this game that were never given names or animations or anything, and they just cost like infinite MP. They're basically like placeholder attacks. So it was probably a placeholder attack that they just never actually gave a real attack. Is the most likely thing. Alright, this is Tanadu. Tanadu has a move called Big Sound, which is a great name for a move that he will never use, but can be manipulated to use. You can steal bird wings from him, but there's little reason to do it because they also drop it 100% of the time. So the way that drops work in this game, if you steal an item, then you don't get the drop. So since he drops it 100% of the time, there's no reason to steal it because you're going to get it from the drop, unless you want to use it on him during the fight. He's immune to both earth and water attacks, and he'll use Great Gale more often as his HP lowers. His original name would have been better translated to Tornade, Tornade, like the French word, and was supposed to be a reference to the French word meaning tornado. But in the Final Fantasy VII Remake, they decided to keep this version of the name. So once he was named Tornado, or Tonadu, they just left it that way for the remake. But it was probably supposed to be Tornad. And let's manipulate him so we can check out Big Sound. I'll use it on us so we can actually see the animation. There it is. And did it give us a... Looks like it gave us an ailment of some kind. It gave us darkness. Oh no, probably Great Gale. Great Gale probably did that. Yeah, it's weird. There's so many hidden attacks in this game. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just unutilized, but there's also just a lot of attacks that are just manipulate attacks that they just never use. Not even just enemy skills either. Just, I mean, there's no reason to hide that attack. It's not a secret, you know? You can't learn it. It's not a secret. Okay, so I think now we only have the jungle enemies. Prepare yourselves for the worst enemy in the game. Probably even worse than Touch Me F. If you know, you know. Not this guy. This guy is Kelsmelzer. Another fantastic name. They have a 1/4 chance to use liquid poison and a 3/4 chance to use claw, but once one is killed, it swaps the chance for the other one, which is really cool. It seems that the literal translation of this name comes close to Gel Schmelz, which is really fun to say. Gel being the same in German, gel, and Schmelz being German for melt. So I think the idea was like melting gel, melting poisonous gel. And that's where the liquid poison comes from, I guess. But yeah, right now they have only a 1/4 chance to use liquid poison. But as soon as I kill one, then this one's going to start spamming it. So that's a really cool little detail. And again, a little message saying like, Kelsmelzer is angry or something would have given you a hint that this is actually a mechanic. Because it doesn't say anything, you're probably never really going to know. So many cool little hidden mechanics in the AI that you would never know. There they are. So these are slaps. Another great name. This is a deceptively dangerous enemy. They have 3 attacks that all cause ailments. Berserk Needle causes Berserk. Bug Needle causes poison and sadness. And Paralyzer causes paralysis. Paralyzer Needle has a 1/8 chance to be used and is only used once per battle. In addition to using Berserk Needle 75% of the time, which it uses it even more after Paralyzer Needle, Slaps always shows up in groups of 3, 4, or even 5. And they even have a pincer attack as well. Fortunately, they only show up in this forest. But if you get the pincer attack with these guys, it is a very possible game over. Because they very quickly berserk your entire party. And I think what's even funnier about this fight, like instant, my whole party's berserked. What's even funnier about this is that you're forced to use Aerith in this part of the game. So you already know that one of your characters is really bad at physical attacks, regardless of what your other 2 characters are. So this is just a mean fight. This is just a mean trap fight that can either game over you or waste a bunch of your time on your way to the temple. Luckily, we have Red 13 on super steroids, so... And Berserk's making him do even more damage. But yeah, really mean fight. And that's it. So now we're on to the temple. And I am very excited for one enemy in particular in the temple. Couple cool enemies here, though, to talk about. And of course, we get to talk about The Wall. Pink Floyd's The Wall. Once we get into the temple and we get the Princess Guard, Aerith's the strongest physical attacker in the game for 2 minutes. But we're not... We fight him before we go in the temple, unfortunately. But yeah, those mosquitoes would be mistaken to put Aerith in Berserk once you get the Princess Guard. They would feel the rage of the ancients. Yeah, I like how they walk up to the caped guy, and then he, like, straight up ascends into heaven, and they're like, anyways. They didn't say anything about it. Did we just see somebody ascend into heaven right in front of our eyes? Can we, like, stop and talk about that for a moment? Cloud's like, I've seen weirder. How's it going, Tamari? All right. Let's see who we can run into here. We only have a few to talk about, surprisingly. Because Underlizards and somebody else. Kelsmelzers also appear in here, so. Doorbul. Alright, so Doorbul has a very funny attack similar to the Dual Horn, which is funny because their names are similar and they're both in a similar area. But this guy does not have a designated Berserk attack, but they forgot to give him immunity to Berserk. So if you give him Berserk, and I don't know if I have any War Gongs left. Let's see. Do I have a War Gong? Does not look like it. We give him Berserk. He will now try to use an attack that costs 65,000 MP, but he doesn't have 65,000 MP, so he's just going to stand there and say skill power is used up forever. So if you want a free fight, throw a War Gong at him. He also only has physical attacks. So if I were to cure him of his Berserk, and instead, actually, I think I have small, don't I? Yeah. And I instead give him small. He now is also completely useless, as all of his attacks will do 1 damage. So, 2 very easy ways to fight this fight. His name is supposed to be a pun of the words double and bull, but because he uses a different form of the word in Japanese, the localization incorrectly translated double as door. So it's supposed to be double bull, but they mistranslated it to door bull because door and double are similar. But it's supposed to be a bull on top of a bull, which is not really a bull, it's like a cat, but whatever. That's adorable. Yeah, now it just sounds like a play on the word adorable. No, there's no animation for it. And I've tried to cheat the game to give them enough MP for them to cast it, and it just doesn't work. It still says they can't cast it. That's a good way to memorize how to beat this enemy. Just remember that the adorable enemy does no damage if you mini him. If you make him cute by making him mini, then you win. If you make the door bowl adorable. Can you... Oh. It's alright. I added a shrivel to my inventory before I remembered that I had the mini materia, so... I'll just throw it away in the next fight. Yeah, I thought so too. I thought he was supposed to be like a door. Like, to me, I always thought it was a reference to, like, you know, the big door knocker things? How sometimes they'll have like a face or whatever. I thought maybe it was like a bull version, because bulls will sometimes have like a nose ring. So maybe it was like a bull face with a nose ring, and the nose ring is the door knocker. So it would be like a door bull. That's what I think of when I hear that name. Do, do, do. Another underlizard. Let me waste this real quick. Is that all that's in here? I think so, actually. Gotta go to the gimmick fights. Do, do, do. Trying to remember which room. Does anybody know which clock room has the 8 Eyes fight? Because I'd like to do that one first. Two? 3? Try 3. I want to do that one first because I want to show how ridiculous it is. But it might kill us. Okay, cool. Just gonna give it to Aerith. She's not gonna use it, but when I take all that materia and put it on Yuffie, Yuffie will use it. Okay. This is going to be fun. So this is 8i. You want to talk about beginner's traps? This is the ultimate beginner's trap. So first of all, his name does not have a dash or a capital letter in his name. I don't know why. I just thought that was funny. I always thought it was 8-I or like 8 capital E, but it's like 8 and then just the word I in all lowercase. This guy is insane for some reason. I don't know why, but for some strange reason, it's not the enemy stats, it's like the attack itself is just way overtuned. If I let it do a single attack, look how much damage this does. I don't know why. I don't know why it's like this. I don't know why this one battle is just insane, but for some reason, and they just spam this attack. So this battle is actually super rare. These guys only show up in this one fight and then also in the battle arena. But a lot of people still know about this fight because almost everybody checks every section of the clock to see what they can get. Even on their first casual playthrough, most people will check every room, so most people have seen this. And B, the battle arena fight is pretty common because it's in the final, like once you get the high wind and you're trying to get Omni Slash and everything, that's where they show up. So most people have seen this fight, even though technically it's really rare. The absorb attack they do, it looks like a drain attack, but it does not drain HP or MP. It just does an insane amount of damage for some reason, but it doesn't actually drain, even though it has the animation of draining, which I always found really strange. One really interesting thing about this fight that I'm sure you've seen me do in the past. They get insta-killed by poison. Not only insta-killed, but they get the death effect from poison. The way it works is they have a unique ailment effect that just causes death when they roll for poison. So it's just, if they get hit by that ailment, even if it's like, I think it has to be the ailment itself. I don't think it's the element. But either way, yeah, it tries to roll for poison, it just kills them and even gives them the death effect. And the only other thing about this fight is they are one of only 2 sources in the game for magic sources. If you morph them, you get magic sources. And they're the only duplicatable magic source in the game, but you have to do it in the battle arena because, well, actually, you could do it in this fight once, but good luck. But yeah, other than this one fight, the only time you can do it multiple times is in the battle arena. And the other source of magic sources you can't duplicate because there's only one. So yeah, hold on to a deadly waste for that battle is basically the lesson. Or poison all. Yep, that's all they do. They just spam that drain attack. Quote-unquote drain attack. I just realized also on my sheet here that Slognad made for me, he actually put a little note saying that 8i was in room 3. So, shout-outs to him. I should have read his notes. Back in time. 2-1. Okay. I'm really excited about this one. I'm very curious to hear if anybody knew about this. Even the dedicated Final Fantasy VII lore nerds. Because I definitely never knew about this, and it blew my mind when I saw it. So this is the Toxic Frog and Gymnesme fight. Let's talk about Gymnezi first. So, first of all, the Japanese version of Gymnesme's name is closer to the word Gemini, so it's probably supposed to be Gemini, but they just made up this name instead. So here's how her AI works. First of all, she will only use Fascination on male targets, and will use Cold Snap on female targets or targets that are turned into frogs. So already that's kind of cool. She only does Fascination on male targets. She's the only one that does that. The later girl enemies, as you'll see, they just attack anyone. But this one in particular will only try to confuse male party members. And the way that they do it in the code is they just list all the male party members. And if I remember correctly, Kate Sith is on that list, if I remember correctly. So here's the part that blew my mind. If we wait for somebody to be turned into a frog... Okay, frogs just troll me like that. I see how it is. I do not want super strong Red 13 attacking my party members. Okay, let's see. Don't put Red 13 back to sleep. Okay, so Red 13 is currently a frog. I'm going to attack Gymnesme with Red 13. Watch what happens. She counters with Toad and heals Red 13's frog. And this will always happen if you attack her with a frog. Anyone that's a frog, if you attack her with the frog, she will then heal the frog. But wait, it gets even better. It gets even crazier. If I can keep someone from being a frog. Because the frog is spamming frog song. She didn't do it that time. Or maybe she just hasn't done it yet. Great, now we're all frogs. Turn me back. Maybe she only does it once. Or maybe she doesn't do it for females. I'll have to look at the code. Okay, do I have anything to heal you? Didn't I buy... I have some Maiden's Kisses, okay. Oh, she's out of MP, that's why. Okay, so I need to... Oh, you don't have poison. Who has bio? Cloud? This frog. I might have to just kill the frog. Let's talk about the frog so I can kill the dang frog. Alright, I'll just kill the frog, and then we'll talk about the frog. Kill the frog. There we go. Okay. Now, who has poison? You. Gonna wait for the poison to hit. Meanwhile, I should probably heal. I need to heal us, and I need to heal her. Alright, check this out. I would be shocked if anybody has ever seen this. Unless you've specifically looked into her AI to make a mod or something. Don't run out of MP, please. If you attack her with a character who is poisoned, she will cast Poisona and fix the poison, which is crazy in many different ways. So first of all, the frogs in this fight are called toxic frogs, but they don't actually have a way to cause poison. So I think at some point, the toxic frogs were supposed to be able to poison you, and they were supposed to be able to frog you. And then if you attack her with a frogged or poisoned character, she heals that thing. But they took away the poison from the toxic frog. So now it's nearly impossible to ever see her do that unless you poison yourself. So that's why no one's probably ever seen that. Second of all, it throws into question like what this fight even was supposed to be. So I wonder if this was supposed to be something where like Gemnisme is actually a damsel in distress, like the frogs have captured her, and the idea is she's trying to like help you in the fight while you're fighting the frogs, but then they couldn't really code it right, so they just left some of that in there as like a little Easter egg, but she's really just fighting you normally and attacking you with Cold Snap and Fascination. But maybe somewhere ancient in the planning for this fight, she was actually supposed to be like a good guy. And she was helping you in the fight and healing you and getting rid of the ailments that the frogs were causing you. So that's really, really neat. I never even knew about the toad thing, but the toad thing is actually pretty useful. If you do this fight normally and you get turned into a toad, you can attack her and she'll heal it for you. The poison thing is just completely out there. You would never know about that unless you were already poisoned. But really, really cool. Really, really cool AI thing that you would never, ever know about. The concept art for this enemy is the only concept art I will not be showing you because it is very risque. Basically, she's just like naked with her hair covering her parts. So at some point they decided to add clothes. Is probably similar to, you know, the change they did with Cloud and Tifa as well, with them not going all the way in their scene. So it was probably like we got to tone stuff down in the game so that it can stay with a T rating. So it might have been part of that whole thing. But the original concept art for this enemy did not have clothes, and probably all the other versions of this enemy were also not supposed to have clothes. So interesting. Also, one more funny thing about this enemy. Poison also auto kills her. So I feel like there was some kind of gimmick with poison in the Temple of the Ancients that was just never fully fleshed out. But, I mean, you have the toxic frogs that don't even give you poison. You have the 8 eyes, which get auto-killed by poison. You have her, who gets auto-killed by poison. You have the red dragon, whose, you know, poison is just really strong against. So it seems like there was supposed to be some kind of thing with poison because there's way too many poisony things going on. But yeah. She can heal your Toad, and she can be auto-killed by poison. 2 very useful things for fighting that fight casually. Let's talk about the Toxic Frog real quick. So, again, despite their name being Toxic Frog, they cannot poison, but they do absorb poison element. And in an even weirder twist, they also have Poisona in their moveset. And you can manipulate them to use it. So not only does Jesmine have Poisona, and you can make her use it, you can have the Toxic Frogs also use Poisona, which is extra weird because they can't even cause poison. So why would you want to manipulate them to use their Poisona? It's completely useless. Although they can show up with Kelsmelzer. So I guess if you're fighting Kelsmelzer, you could manipulate them and heal your poison. And other than that quirk, they're basically the same as the Touch Me enemy, except they have better stats. They have a better chance to counter with Frog Song when you attack them, and they have a weakness to ice. So that is the Jesmine fight. Was very excited to talk about that one. What a crazy fight. And I'm convinced that there was definitely supposed to be more going on with that fight that they just never implemented. Now, we could do the Ancient Dragon fight. Let's get this stuff first. She won't cure Minnie. Just Poison and Toad. And that's actually a good question. I don't know if you were both what she would do. We could test it. When I get to the save point, I'll test it. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, there's a funny mistake in this room. They wrote Roman numeral 4 as I, which is not correct. And they did 8 correctly, so I don't know how they screwed up 4, but... Oh yeah, didn't we talk about... they use it in clocks? Yeah. So maybe it wasn't a mistake. Why do they use it in clocks, though? Is it easier to read, maybe? Yeah. Maybe it's just easier to read. Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember that conversation too. So maybe it wasn't a mistake. Knowing the translators, well, it wouldn't be the translators though, it would be the original developers, so they probably knew. The translators probably had no clue, but they didn't translate this. The artist did it, so... Is there anything at 9? I don't remember. I think no. I think it's a dead end. Actually... Maybe not. Okay, let's fight... the ancient dragons. So you don't need to go down here to fight. You can just fight them in the room after the red dragon. But this is easier. So, this fight is another beginner's trap type deal. Because this is a pincer, these guys do super crazy damage. As you can see, they already killed Cloud before I even got a turn. So these guys do crazy damage because of the pincer attack, and they're also pretty strong enemies in general. So it's very easy to game over here. I kind of like this being this way, though, because it is like a trap. You fall down because you screwed up the clock puzzle, so you get punished. So I do kind of like that this fight is overtuned. Way better than the 8 Eyes fight. Although the 8 Eyes is also like a trap because you open up the chest, and it's like a battle in the chest, so it kind of makes sense. But this one makes more sense. Southern Cross deals physical damage, and the only other attack they have other than Southern Cross is their physical attack. So if you mini them, it actually completely trivializes the fight, just like the Door Bowl. You can mini them, and then just everything they do is 1 damage. The better way to cheese this fight, though, is with laser. Because for some strange reason, these guys are not only susceptible to Demi, but they're weak against Demi. So a move that normally does 1/2 damage actually just does all of their health. Which is extra strange because they're flying. And a lot of flying enemies are immune to gravity. So, strange. But, yes. Not only are they susceptible to it, they're actually weak against it. So it does double damage. And because laser does 1/2 an opponent's HP, double that means it does all of their HP. So it's just an auto kill. Which is very nice to know for this fight. Laser the GOAT. You can also do the same with TS bombs. Yeah, it's a pretty rare thing. Usually enemies are just either susceptible to it or not susceptible to it. But they are weak against it. I think there are some other flying enemies that are, like, susceptible to gravity. I guess the idea is, like, you're bringing them down to Earth. But a lot of flying enemies are just immune to gravity for whatever reason. So it's like, there's not enough consistency to reasonably assume anything is weak to anything in this game. You know, like, there's plenty of robot enemies that are not weak against Bolt. There's plenty of flying enemies that are not weak against Arrow or Gravity, or are weak against Arrow or Gravity. I think the only real consistent thing throughout the entire game, as far as I can remember, I don't think there is a single flying enemy that can be hurt with Earth. I think they're all immune to Earth. There are some that, if they land, they are then susceptible to Earth. And there's other ones that when they land, they're still immune to Earth, even though they've landed. But in terms of, like, when they're in the air, I think all flying enemies are immune to Earth. I'm sure I'll probably get a YouTube comment of someone being like, actually. Which I'll be interested to hear if there is one. But from what I remember, I don't think I found one. But I did find one. I think it's... Was it the Zemzalet? There's an enemy somewhere that goes up in the air and is immune to Earth, and then comes back down and is still immune to Earth. I think it might be the Zemzalet. Okay, so I think what we'll do here is we will do the Red Dragon fight, and then we'll save Demon Gate for tomorrow, or for next week. And I think, unless we want to put on, like, Elemental Fire for the memes. The ancient model. I think the ancient model is in that Kajata viewer somewhere. Not in the enemy one, but in the field model one. I always love the slow motion swinging. Such a cool effect. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this text here. Well, not this text. But pay attention to this this dialogue here. Cloud says, ha ha ha, black materia. And then call meteor. And then Aerith says, get a hold of yourself. I'm Cloud, how should I... I remember my way. And then is something wrong? Don't worry about it. It's nothing. Red 13 does the meme. Sephiroth got away. Don't worry about it. I understood what he was saying. So this must be Meteor. Something's going to fall down. It's supposed to be just what Sephiroth was saying. The ultimate destructive magic. It finds small drifting planets with its magic. And then collides with them. Sephiroth. Then he says, ha ha ha, it is not me. So there is a real chance that originally the red dragon was actually supposed to turn into the Bahamut materia after this fight. So normally we do this fight and then the Bahamut materia is just kind of sitting there on the ground. Originally, there's a very good chance that the plan was that you would kill Red Dragon and then he would transform into the materia after the fight. And if you look at this here, this is from the livestream.net. This is removed dialogue from what we just read. It was supposed to be there instead of him just saying the "it's not me" part. Instead, he was going to say, during the time when the ancients prospered, there exist beings that were brought up bathed in the light of abundant Mako. They were pure creatures of natural shape. Several types remain even now. Some of these things being sealed, these beings sealed their life energy within materia, altering their lives forever. And then Aerith responds with the summon materia, and then Sephiroth says, correct, such a clever girl. The creatures who protect this temple here have lived long, relics from the age of the ancients. They belong to this planet even more than you do. And then the dragon would like yell, and then he would say, keep that in mind. And then you would fight the red dragon. So I made a theory video a long time ago about how the summons are potentially ancients. And this kind of goes along with that. I don't know if that was still their desire and they just removed this dialogue, but it's still like a thing, or if they removed this dialogue because they decided to can the idea. But either way, originally it seems like all of the summon materia were going to be ancients, and Sephiroth was going to explain to you right before fighting the red dragon that the ancients, some of the ancients became summons. And then you were going to fight the red dragon, and then once you beat the red dragon, it was going to transform into the Bahamut materia. So basically the red dragon is supposed to be an ancient who got turned into a dragon, who then turns into the summon materia Bahamut. So there's going to be a lot more lore implication for this fight. Instead, now it's just a red dragon you fight, and then you get Bahamut. But originally there was going to be a lot more to it. And it was going to fit into the theory that all of the summons are basically ancient warriors. As for the fight itself, all of Red Dragon's attacks only target one party member. So the best way to beat him is to just poison him and then heal whoever gets hit and just sit and defend. Otherwise, it can actually be a bit of a difficult fight, especially because his bite does a lot of damage, and he could potentially crit. You can also defeat the dragon in like 4 hits with Death Blow, Princess Guard, if you do a Princess Guard build. Now that you have it. Yeah, it's unknown if they removed it because they thought there was too much dialogue here, or they removed it because they didn't like the idea of the summons being ancients, or if they removed it because they had more ideas for the summons being ancients, but then they just ran out of time, so they just removed that so that it wasn't just random. You know, we'll never know. But we do know that at some point, this was basically going to be Bahamut. You were going to fight Bahamut and then get him. Also, we don't know if, you know, maybe that fight that happened was going to be Bahamut and not this guy. And then perhaps they ran out of time. And so they did... Jerk. Perhaps they ran out of time, so they just did a Red Dragon fight instead. But originally, it could have been actual Bahamut you were fighting here. Similar like Final Fantasy VIII Aeon fights. Or GF fights, I should say. It would make sense both ways. You could say that it was like Bahamut, or you could say that like this dragon is just like a enemy-ified ancient. It would probably make more sense though, just to fight Bahamut himself. And yeah, Bahamut in particular is a reoccurring fight in the series. You end up fighting him a lot. I checked this screen to see if Cloud or Aerith had more magic, and they both have exactly 81. So, guess I'll give it to Cloud. Welcome back, Mav. Red 13 crossing his arms again. You always got to bring Red 13 to the temple, because you get like 3 of those throughout the temple. He does it more often than anywhere else, I think. Two legs, nothing to it. All right. Like I said, you can fight ancient dragons in here as well, and you get a bunch of them. This can be a really good farm if you just spam laser. They give a ton of XP. Really good farm for Demon's Gate. All right, well, hope you enjoyed the trivia for today. A bunch of really exciting ones. I think the ones that I was most excited about when starting this series was Jesmani, because I just thought, like, for sure no one has ever seen this. It's completely insane. And the Pagoda. So I'm glad we got to do both of those this week. I'm also very excited for the Whirlwind Maze, if you know, you know. We still have a lot of really interesting bosses, too, coming up, so. And we got more Turk battles as well to see the continuation of Reno's gimmick. And we still have a lot. I mean, I'm looking at my sheet here. We're still, like, I don't know, maybe halfway done with the enemies, not even. There's so many. So still a lot to go. Actually, if I look in the enemy list, we're probably about halfway, actually, in the enemy list. But this doesn't include bosses. It also doesn't include the Great Glacier, because that's a separate tab. And the Great Glacier has a lot of enemies. So yeah, maybe halfway or almost halfway. But still a lot to do. So, but I want to thank you guys again so much for being a part of the Final Fantasy VII trivia playthrough. It's been amazing. Thank you for all the support. Everyone that's supported, either bought the Touch Me F mugs or have come over to the Twitch and supported, or done the super comments on YouTube. It's all super appreciated, and I cannot do stuff like this without your support. A lot of people have been joining the Patreon as well. There's a lot of cool stuff on the Patreon. A lot of people have been asking me about my E33 playthrough. That's on Patreon. Also, a lot of like the Scavenger beta playthrough, our second playthrough of Rebirth. A lot of Final Fantasy VII science is on the Patreon. Like when we were trying to figure out how to do the Aerith's Revenge challenge, a lot of the kind of science that we did before starting the playthrough, and even during the playthrough, is on Patreon. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, be sure to check it out. It's pay what you want. You get access to everything for only the lowest tier. So check it out if you're interested. But thank you everyone that has joined it. It's really meant a lot and really helped a lot. And yeah, just thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. It's been so cool to see everyone's reactions to everything. It's been awesome. So thank you. Appreciate you. We will see you in the next episodes of the Final Fantasy VII Enemy Trivia Challenge. Peace.